Welcome to the Blue 52 show. It's been a minute since I've just sat down in front of the camera and yapped without a whole bunch of extra stuff. That's one of the main reasons I started this channel, because I had a lot of football ideas and stuff I wanted to get out instead of just ranting to my dog.
And they keep calling him a running back, but he's not a running back. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He just so happens to have a really good athletic ability and knows how to use it well, but he's a really good quarterback. He can sit down in the pocket, make plays over the middle. He can read out defense is perfectly fine. He's got accuracy. He's a really good player.
I'm sure he's gonna miss our football chats. Anyways, I've gathered you all here today because I have a bone to pick with quarterback contracts. I've had this issue for a while, and this is the perfect area to express that and get it out here. This video might be a little bit more ranty and kind of drawn out with just me talking and yapping. If that's not your thing, I totally get it, click off. But quarterback contracts, here are my issues with quarterback contracts. So I genuinely believe at this point in time that quarterback contracts are going to gravely affect and negatively affect many NFL teams. Why do I think this? It's already happened. It's been happening for like a decade. I mean, the history of horrible contracts goes down since the NFL began. It's not that we're in, some new regime where for the first time ever we're seeing a quarterback contract or any contract not work out. But it's different. It's been different for a little while now. It got reset at some point. I don't remember who exactly did it. It was probably a Deshaun Watson contract with the fully guaranteed $230 million. I'll get into that in just a second. But these contracts are siphoning a lot of money from teams, and what we've been seeing recently is we're seeing that siphoning of money from the salary cap and nothing to benefit the rest of the team for it. We all know that for a while Tom Brady found a lot of success on the Patriots and won a lot of Super Bowls by taking cuts and not demanding the highest contract. Although I mention that and think that's kind of important in this discussion, that's not what I'm advocating for here at all. I don't think if a player does not want to take a cut, quarterback or not, that's fine. It's their choice. I'm never going to tell someone to take less money for whatever reason. If they're able to get the money that they desire, whatever they need, go for it. I'm not going to be denying large contracts myself. But there is a difference between wanting to win and not realizing that difference in contracts, if that makes sense. Is my window open? Just the loudest motorcycle I've ever heard in my life right as I start filming. That's great. Anyways, the point of this isn't as much about that, about players taking pay cuts if they want to win or whatever. If you really want to win, it's probably in your best interest to take a pay cut. If you don't, if you want the money, if you realize, hey, the NFL doesn't last forever, I need to get my money while I can, do that too. I don't care. Let's talk more specifically about quarterback contracts, though. Let me list off a few of recent quarterback contracts throughout the year that were notably horrible. I'll start with Deshaun Watson, $230 million. Daniel Jones, $160 million. I'm going to yap about that for a second. Russell Wilson, $245 million. That one we just saw come to an end. Jimmy G, $72.5 million. Derek Carr, $150 million contract. And then a few other guys that I wouldn't say are play it on as poor of a level as the other guys I just listed. I also don't think their contracts were necessarily bad, but we are talking about guys that are dealing with injuries and stuff and aren't always on the field, like Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. The Baker Mayfield contract I honestly did like, and again, I don't necessarily hate the Aaron Rodgers contract, but he didn't even play this last year, and we don't know how he will do. The Kyler Murray contract, I'm a fan of him. That was a big contract, though, and he has been hurt, so there are questions with that. And then there's the other 5 or so that we can focus on. So first of all, the Deshaun Watson contract. I can't remember the last time I've seen a quarterback's contract negatively affect what people thought of the NFL so much. I don't need to get into all the crap that happened with him. You've heard it a million times. That's a dumb contract for obvious reasons, and he is a horrible person. Don't need to touch that too much, but that's another perfect example. Then on to the Daniel Jones contract. So it's not that this one is worse than the Deshaun Watson contract, but it pissed me off more. Now, the Deshaun Watson contract, everyone was on board that was stupid and horrible. No one liked it. They didn't like that a person like that got that contract. So I didn't like it either, but I was also like, everyone's already going on about this. Now, people were making jokes about the Daniel Jones contract. This one did genuinely piss me off. He is a subpar, below average quarterback. What in the world would make you think signing him to a $160 million contract was smart? He had a playoff win? Cool, the coach did that, and the defense. That doesn't matter anyways, having a playoff win. If we're not going to count Super Bowl and playoff wins as a quarterback stat or whatever, when it comes time to be negative towards someone, we can't do it positively either. And so yeah, he went to the playoffs, he stunk it up, and then every other step in his career other than that playoff moment has been trash. He has proven nothing in this league, other than the fact that he's a little more athletic than people think. So why does he get a $160 million contract? The front office is scared to lose their jobs. And this is something we see all the time. Players getting drafted, people getting contracts and stuff, just because a general manager, owner, someone in the front office is going to get fired if they don't make a move right now. That's why Daniel Jones gets a $160 million contract. Someone is scared, and if they lose him, if he leaves and they're like, okay, we have a year where we're going to have to, start a backup or whatever, we're probably going to suck. Well, that's someone's job, so can't let that happen. Instead, we'll give $160 million to Daniel Jones. Now, I will be fair in saying that this contract was structured decently well and had some outs if they didn't like Daniel Jones within a couple years. They're still paying him stupid money within those first 2 years, though. It doesn't matter. They're still paying him a lot of money. I don't know. What's the total guarantee on his contract? Let me look into that. $82 million of it. $82 million was guaranteed. Don't do that. Don't sign someone who kind of sucks. I'm not just like a hater here. I've spent time watching Daniel Jones. He's not a good quarterback. You can show me his highlight reel and everything. Cool, it doesn't matter. He's not a good quarterback. He's had good plays. He's a little more athletic than we thought. He can throw the ball sometimes to the right guy when they're wide open or whatever. That doesn't mean he's a good quarterback. That means that the team around him at the time when he had success, things worked out. He has at least the ability to throw a ball in a general area to be semi-accurate or whatever. Still doesn't mean he's a good quarterback and worth signing for $160 million. And then we move on to the Russell Wilson one. This is another one I don't want to lean into too much because it's been over-discussed. Obviously, it was a horrible contract for many reasons. But then we get into another one with like Jimmy Garoppolo, $72.5 million. This one's a little bit more excusable because it wasn't as expensive and everything, but it's still a bad contract, and it was just shortened from someone like Daniel Jones or whatever. He's still getting similar money. Why? He's not a good quarterback. He's not proven anything. Okay, he went to the Super Bowl. I get it. So did Blaine Gabbert. And then, recently we saw Derek Carr with his $150 million contract. That is horrible for a lot of reasons. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the red zone. And other than that, he is just average. He is a ball of mid. Derek Carr, other than, red zone play, which is where he becomes a third string quarterback for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Other than that, he's still just an average quarterback. At best, he's just average. So you give him $150 million because someone's scared. And this is the same thing we see all the time. Someone is scared to lose their job. I'm hounding in on it a lot right now. But that's the thing that bugs me is it's not about finding the best option. It's not about bringing in the best quarterback, giving a fair and right contract or anything like that. Go ahead and give most of your salary cap yearly to Derek Carr, who is average at best. Now, to me, there are two sides to this problem. There's the front office and the quarterbacks. I want to talk a little bit more about the quarterbacks because the front office one is, that's kind of what I've been talking about within the last 15 minutes or so. But the quarterbacks is where I start to differentiate from this a bit. So one of the themes that I see a lot, a narrative that goes around whenever a quarterback like Russell Wilson is signed to a major contract and then he stinks the place up, is a lot of people saying, well, you wouldn't turn down that money either. If someone offered you a contract like that, you wouldn't turn that down. You can't just turn down that much money or anything. I get it, and you're right. If someone offered me a huge contract and it was all guaranteed, I would say yes. But I'm also not Russell Wilson, and he stunk the place up. I don't like the fact that we've just started absolving quarterbacks, or any position, but we see it the most with quarterbacks, absolving them of all blame just because it's a lot of money and you wouldn't turn it down. Okay, play better then. If it's as simple as you wouldn't turn down that money, then it should just be as simple as play better then. More the point I want to make is we can't keep letting quarterbacks just sign these terrible, god-awful contracts and not allow for it to have repercussions or whatever. Russell Wilson's just fine. Like, he robbed however much money he did from the Broncos, gave them absolutely nothing. They got nothing out of that. They lost their franchise. A boatload of first round, second round picks and everything. I don't know if they'll have to pay. They don't have to pay the full $240 million, but a lot of that. And he did nothing for the team. And you just want to ignore Russell Wilson's side of things because you wouldn't turn down that contract. That's not how this stuff works. We are in a cutthroat league, right? We talk about this all the time. As much as we'd like things to just be fun and games, it is a cutthroat league. We see guys getting cut on their birthdays. We see all the nasty stuff that happens behind the scenes. But how is it that we can look at this situation with Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and just pretend like they're not a part of this? Like this is all just the front office being stupid. Yeah, the front offices in these situations were pretty dull, but let's not forget about the quarterbacks that signed these contracts that were absolutely ridiculous and then did nothing. The way Deshaun Watson was watching the games that the Browns were playing up in that press box or whatever, I remember very specifically when the Bengals played the Browns and Joe Burrow was in his sling or whatever. He was on the sideline. At some point he had like a headset and he's going over film and like different plays and stuff with Jake Browning and the other teammates and stuff. Like he's in there. And then you cut to Deshaun Watson who's up in a press box like this. That doesn't drive you up a wall? That would kill me, as I wouldn't be a Browns fan anymore. If I was a Browns fan, first of all, when they made that contract with Deshaun Watson, I probably would have quit right there. But let's say I make it through that and I decide, let's let it play out, see how it goes. Stinks it up, whatever, let's stick it out even more. At the point when I see Deshaun Watson not giving a single about the team while he's injured, probably not. He's probably just like, hey, I'm getting paid anyways, and I don't really feel like playing. It hasn't looked like he cares to play anymore. The last couple of seasons. Does it look like Deshaun Watson wants to play football? It looks like he doesn't give a and that's who you're paying $230 million in total. You owe him $230 million to not give. It's not his fault, though, because he wouldn't turn down that contract. So we just let everyone walk all over everyone then. Every quarterback just walks over everyone. Daniel Jones gets stupid money for no reason. And then we have guys like Brock Purdy who come in and are Mr. Irrelevance. And then they go to the Super Bowl with him, right? So then you want to say, well, Jimmy G might have earned that contract that he had with the Raiders because they went to the Super Bowl like I was talking about earlier. Well, Brock Purdy did it, and he was making $3 million. So, and both of them lost in the Super Bowl. So what's the difference here? The difference is like $60 million that you gave Jimmy G to, well, if we're the Raiders in this situation, he didn't go to the Super Bowl with them. I don't know why you would have thought that. You could have watched any amount of film and thought that. It really makes me think with all these contracts that we see that there's not as much film watching for dudes that are already in the league as we'd assume. You would think it doesn't matter, like, that someone's been in the league for a while. We're still going to watch film on him and see if he's a fit for the team, if he's still good, if he is good at all. This, like, Jimmy G and Daniel Jones, those two contracts, I just don't believe that most of these front offices are watching film or paying attention to any of these guys they're giving these stupid contracts to. Now, the Deshaun Watson, there's some excuses in that regard there, because while he was playing in the league, he looked really good. Let's not forget Deshaun Watson was like a top 3 quarterback for a while, right? In Houston, he was a top 3 quarterback. He was right there with Mahomes and Allen and everything. Yeah, so Deshaun Watson was really good, but then he misses more than a year, and he's got all this crap going on with him being a sex offender and all that. Giving him that contract's ridiculous. But I at least understand the fact that, when you do watch film on him, you see, he's really good. He's a really good quarterback. They should have had way more hindsight and nuance to it and paid attention to anything going on, but they didn't. Kind of the same for Russell Wilson. So those two, I understand that aspect a little bit of it. Kind of the same for like Aaron Rodgers. He's never played anywhere else. He's coming off of a huge injury. Why are you giving these crazy contracts? I hope the Aaron Rodgers thing doesn't work out the same way the Russell Wilson has, and every team is getting forced into a situation where if they want a contract, they have to sell the team to get him. And then it's fine if that quarterback just sucks. When you're in football long enough, and I haven't been in football very long, I'm only 19 years old now, but at a point you start realizing like there are things you can do to not suck. Even at the highest level, especially when your name is Russell Wilson, there's a lot you can do to not suck at the game. And most of that just starts from caring. These quarterbacks aren't caring that their team sucks and that they suck because they're getting a stupid contract. And the front offices don't care that they have to give up way too much money for a quarterback that sucks because it's either that or their job. So, I kind of mixed the 2 points I was going to lead into and mix them up together and ended up just ranting about front offices and quarterbacks. But again, to kind of recap, I don't think that we should look at quarterbacks with horrible contracts that didn't play well and just absolve them of blame because anyone would have taken that money. No, don't forget the fact that they needed to play better based on their contract. Don't forget that they sucked for you on your team or whatever. Don't forget that stuff. And there's nuances to everything, right? Everything that went wrong for the Broncos with Russell Wilson wasn't all on Russell Wilson or whatever. But when you're paying someone, here's the other thing. Another thing I'll tangent about or whatever. So for the Broncos specifically with Russell Wilson, there were a lot of people saying they weren't like playing him right. The scheme wasn't conducive to his success and everything, blah, blah, blah. You're paying him $245 million. It doesn't matter what scheme you run. He needs to be good in it. Now, logically speaking, from a football mindset, it is dumb to sign a quarterback to a contract like that and not play to his strengths or whatever. And not have a good coordinator, because I hated the Nathaniel Hackett hiring and everything. That is something that should be in hindsight too. But when we're talking about $245 million, you need to live up to it. And from the front office side, just need to do better. It's laughable. A lot of these situations are with Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and everything. Obviously, at some points in this video, it more bugged me than made me laugh. There are so many minute details about what front offices are doing and why it's wrong in terms of quarterback contracts. Like, I don't like the Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson ones for that reason. It's like, yeah, I know these are really successful guys historically, but that's what we're talking is historically. They haven't done it in a while. And Aaron Rodgers, now coming off this injury, all the stuff off field and everything with him, and now that there's a bunch of off field stuff with him, like he's getting in trouble, but it's something new every week. He's going to retire and go to Jeopardy and be the host there. He's now the vice president. So yeah, that was my tangent. That was my rant on quarterback contracts and why they bug me so much a little bit about, from the front office side of things, why they happen, and quarterbacks, why they take those contracts and everything. And I also just want to show my point a little bit that we can't forget about the quarterbacks in these situations and just pretend like they had nothing to do with this, like they were just the innocent little kid while the parents were arguing or whatever. No, they signed the contract. I know you would have too, but you're not an NFL quarterback. They are. They need to live up to that a lot better. If you're not going to play that well, I don't know what should happen to you. Again, I'm not advocating for Russell Wilson to go to jail or anything like that, but man, really horrible contracts that hopefully will not ruin the NFL. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you maybe enjoyed this rant video. Leave a like button and subscribe if you would like. I make content kind of like this. This is something a little bit new I'm doing, I guess, but subscribe if you want more.